Today you're going to be learning about training your abs to be stronger than they've ever been. We're going to look at the anatomy first, and as you can see, we're talking about the abdominal wall, we're talking about the three layers of it. So we've got external obliques, internal obliques, transverse abdominis and rectus abdominis. So you can see rectus abdominis coming up the front, you've got external obliques out here. If we come across here, you'll start to see the different layers. So obviously the most deep layers here, and then the most superficial layers here, and you've also got external obliques, internal obliques, transverse abdominis, and then you've got the fascia that underlies it. So what we are talking about is one whole unit that is made up of different layers of fascia and also different muscles. Now what we're going to look at is how this functions and how this works, which will then help us understand much better what the exercises need to look like. In exercise circles, it's commonly thought that the abdominal muscles work like a bicep muscle or a quad muscle. So for example, a bicep muscle, what does that do? Well, it's a bicep curl. So it's flexing the elbow and it's taking a straight arm and making it bent whilst lifting a weight. Now, if it's a quadricep exercise, we might sit on a leg extension machine and we go from a bent leg to a straight leg. So that's how people understand that muscles work. So if we translate that into the core, we would then be thinking about, well, we need to bring the rib cage towards the pelvis, or vice versa, the pelvis towards the rib. Now, what would that look like from an exercise? Well, it would look like a crunch or a reverse crunch. If we're talking about the obliques, it would be some sort of twisting exercise. This is how people think the core is meant to work. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of literature that would support and suggest it works this way. How the core is really working is highlighted by these hoop stresses. And it comes in some respects in two forms. So you've got a pressure pushing out and a tension holding together. So the stress on your abdominals created by intra-abdominal pressure. So that is the pressure pushing out on the abdomen in all directions. So it's not just in those directions that I've highlighted, it's in all directions, as you can see on the screen here. And the stress on the abdominal wall. So this is the tension that's holding it together. So we've got the pressure pushing it out. If we don't have this tension here, then this pressure is going to keep expanding the core until essentially it would break open. So we've got the inter-abdominal pressure pushing out and the tension holding the core together. Now, how that essentially works is you saw in the image before, and you've probably seen before, the abdominals are made up of these little compartments, which give us this sort of six-pack illusion. So there's 1, there's 2, 3, 4. In fact, I've done 8 here. But it gives this illusion of this little sort of 6 or 8 pack. Now, this is like this for a reason, because it's able to cope with greater intra-abdominal pressure if it's designed like this than if it's just designed in essentially 2 straight lines or 1 straight line. So it's designed specifically for this reason, to be able to manage this pressure. Now, obviously, the intra-abdominal pressure goes up depending on how hard the exercise is, and then this in turn creates this tension throughout the abdominal muscles. So what we want to be doing is choosing exercises that create greater intra-abdominal pressure, which then highlight the tension that needs to be created within that to be able to hold the core together. And what we're going to do in the next slide is look and talk about some of what those exercises are. And these exercises are essentially holding exercises. So in all these exercises, I am not flexing and I am not extending my core. What I'm aiming to do is maintain the natural curve through the lumbar spine, as you can see in all of these examples. And then what I'm trying to do is either move from the hips or from the shoulders, which is here, which will be here, and which is here, to create a longer lever. And again, what I can do with this exercise is I can move back and forth, so I can flex and extend the shoulder, or I could perform the stir the pot exercise, which is essentially making circles with my elbows, and then that is going to be creating that holding movement, or holding posture, I should say, whilst moving the arms, to then be able to create the tension through the core, through here, and also the intra-abdominal pressure, which is going to, in some respects, balance that out by pushing the core out with the intra-abdominal, with the tension through the abdominal wall, trying to hold it in. The other thing that I'm trying to do, so I can get the effect through the rectus abdominis and then through the obliques to the side of it, what I'm also trying to do is move the weight. So in here, with this rollout exercise, I would start with my elbows and my hips in this vertical position. What I am then doing is I'm moving my arms this way, and my hips this way, creating a much longer lever. And what this is doing, this is getting my core to work that much harder, but also it's spreading the load higher onto the torso and lower onto the torso because the lever is that much longer. If I stay in here, it's only that long, so only a smaller portion of the muscle is working. It doesn't need as much intra-abdominal pressure, and it doesn't need as much tension to hold everything together. The exact same is happening here. I'm lengthening the lever because what would happen here is I would have my elbows next to my body with my hands just in front of my torso, short lever, but also as I move that away, it's going to compress my abdominals to be able to hold that much stronger. If we talk about this plank and this arm raise, what is happening is, again, both hands or both arms will be in this position. As I lift and put the arm on my back, if I use my left arm, it's going to be the left side of my core working harder. When I put this one down after a matter of 2 or 3 seconds, so I put that arm back down and lift my right arm, what is then going to happen is that tension is then going to shift from the left side onto the right side, and then I'm going to go back and I might perform 12 reps of that. So it's going to go left, right, left, right, left, right. So all the time I'm trying to spread the load from this side to this side to this side to this side. If we then look at this final exercise, again, if I'm making circles with this ball here, what you're able to do is, again, as the arms go to the top of the circle out here, it's going to start working higher up. As it comes round to the side, it's going to start working here. As you bring the arms back in, it will start back here, and then out to the other side, it will go back to there, and then back out. So again, I'm spreading the load around, but I'm maintaining the posture, creating the intra-abdominal pressure, and also focusing on creating tension through the abdominal wall to hold everything together. And this is how you're going to be making your abdominal wall to be stronger than it's ever been. So what we're going to do quickly is just summarize and talk about how you can do that. So all the way through this, all I've been talking about is to hold your torso rigid and under load. So in all those 4 exercises on the previous slide, the stir the pot with the plank on top of the ball, I'm holding the torso rigid, but I've got load because I'm moving my arms. The Pallof press, which is on the knees, pressing the cable away from me, is exactly the same. The rollout using the wheel, exactly the same. And the plank with arm raise, again, is exactly the same. And I don't want to be crunching, I don't want to be twisting, and I don't want to be bending the spine. Because not only is that not how the core is designed, which is what I've explained, it also increases the risk of injury to the spine. So one, it's not effective in the way that it works the muscles because it's not working the core the way it's designed to work, and 2, it increases your risk of injury. And if I wanted to add a third bullet point, which in some respects I'm gonna do, is you want to then move the load around so it shifts around the torso from the top to the side to the bottom, out to the other side, and then back again. So all the time we're trying to work all around the core whilst maintaining balance, rigidity and stiffness throughout the entire core. So hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's given you an introduction into how the core really works, some exercises that you can choose and experiment with, and then train your abs to be stronger than they've ever been. Many thanks for watching. My name is Chris from Christopher Holt Training. I will speak to you in the next tutorial.